2026 might be the greatest year for survival horror since 2005. I'm not exaggerating. The lineup is so stacked it's actually stupid. Here are 10 upcoming horror games ranked, and number 1 hasn't even shown gameplay yet, and I'm still putting it at the top. Subscribe if you're new, and let's jump into it. What if H.P. Lovecraft wrote a survival horror game and set it in a city that's literally drowning? The Sinking City 2 is coming from Frogwares, a Ukrainian studio that's been making Sherlock Holmes and Lovecraft games for over 2 decades. And this time, they've thrown the detective stuff out the window and gone full survival horror. You're in 1920s Arkham, the city is flooded, deep ones are crawling out of the water, and you've got inventory management, backtracking, and optional puzzles, all the classic survival horror hallmarks wrapped in cosmic dread. They delayed it to the first half of 2026 because of the ongoing war in Ukraine, which honestly makes me respect this team even more. They're building this thing under actual real-world horror conditions. First half of 2026, PC and consoles. If you like your horror with tentacles and existential crisis, this is your game. What if Among Us was actually terrifying and had a AAA budget? That's Directive 8020. This is the 5th game in the Dark Pictures anthology from Supermassive, the Until Dawn people, and they're finally going to space. You're on a doomed ship, there's an alien organism on board, and here's the kicker. It can disguise itself as your crewmates in real time, so you're making life or death narrative choices while actually not knowing who's human and who's about to eat your face. They've added stealth gameplay, improvised weapons, and a new save system called Turning Point that lets you rewind decisions. It was supposed to come out in October 2025 but got delayed after layoffs hit the studio. May the 12th, 2026 is the new date. PS5, Xbox and PC. Dark Pictures have been hit or miss, but this concept is a hit even if the execution stumbles. An underwater horror Metrovania made by the people who created Virginia. I didn't know I needed that sentence in my life until right now. Deepest Fear is a first-person sci-fi horror shooter set in an oceanic research facility miles below the surface. Viable State, the dev team, is citing The Thing, The Abyss, and The Fly as their main influences, which is basically the holy trinity of 80s body horror. It's got Metroidvania structure, meaning you're unlocking new areas as you gain abilities. The facility can change dynamically while you play, and enemies can hide in every drop of water around you. The retro future aesthetics is gorgeous in a deeply unsettling way. No confirmed release date yet, but it's looking like 2026. PC's confirmed, consoles likely. This is the kind of game that could come out of nowhere and be everyone's game of the year. I need you to look at the monsters in this game. Just look at them. Look at them. That's it. That's the pitch. Ill has been floating around the internet for years. That's impossibly realistic horror game, and people kept asking, is this real? Well, it's real. Team Clout finally entered full production in 2025, and the Summer Game Fest trailer confirmed this is a photorealistic first-person survival horror set inside a fortress overtaken by a mysterious entity. The creature design is inspired by 90s body horror. Think Cronenberg meets Resident Evil. The devs worked on actual horror films like Longlegs and It before switching to games. There's no confirmed date yet, but Reddit consensus says late 2026, PS5, Xbox and PC. If this thing delivers even half of what they've shown, it's going to be a problem for every other horror game on this list. Pinhead is getting a single player survival horror game, not multiplayer, not asymmetric, a full narrative M-rated single-player horror game, and Clive Barker himself co-wrote the story. Hellraiser Revival comes from Saber Interactive, and you play as a guy named Aiden who gets pulled into the Cenobite nightmare after messing with the wrong puzzle box, because people in Hellraiser, they never learn. It's first person, it's got combat and stealth, and Saber is leaning hard into the violent and erotic identity of the original films. This is not a PG-13 situation. The PlayStation blog literally described it as horror that doesn't hold back. They released a gameplay trailer in February that looked actually disturbing. Chains, flesh, the whole deal. Coming out on PS5, Xbox and PC. If you ever wanted to be inside a Hellraiser movie, congratulations, your prayers have been answered, and that's probably a bad thing. You can play as Michael Myers with supernatural powers, including one called Shape Jump that makes you invisible and fast. I'm sorry, what? Halloween the game comes from IllFonic and Gun Interactive, the teams behind Friday the 13th, the game, and Predator Hunting Grounds, and it's an asymmetric multiplayer horror game where one player is Michael Myers and the others are civilians trying to survive in Haddonfield. You've got single player and multiplayer. Michael has supernatural abilities ripped straight from the film lore, and the whole thing is set around the 1978 original movie timeline, coming September the 8th, 2026 on PS5, Xbox and PC. Now look, IllFonic's track record is great idea, shaky execution. We all know that. But this is the Halloween franchise with a real budget and real development time. If they nail it, this could be the definitive slasher game. If they don't, well, at least we get to be Michael Myers for a weekend. The creators of SOMA, one of the most psychologically devastating horror games ever made, just announced their next game. And it's set on a repurposed moon hotel called Samsara. You play as a deity who's been lured there by a message from her estranged father promising to reveal the truth about their shared past. It's described as a sci-fi mystery horror, with hands-on analog gameplay. You're scavenging materials, manipulating machinery, and solving problems with your mind rather than through combat. And knowing Frictional, the body horror and philosophical nightmare gameplay will be absolutely unhinged. SOMA made people question the nature of consciousness for weeks after playing it. Ontis is probably going to do the same thing, but on the moon. PS5, Xbox and PC. This is the one I'm personally most terrified to play, and I mean that as a compliment. A first-person Silent Hill game set in 1996 Scotland, developed by people who worked on the Alien Isolation. If you're not already sold, I don't know what to tell you. Silent Hill Townfall puts you in the shoes of Simon Ordell. A 37-year-old man came back from the fictional island of St. Amelia, a fog-drenched coastal village hiding otherworldly horrors. You've got a pocket CRT television that detects supernatural signals, improvised weapons like metal pipes and planks, limited firearms, and a stealth system where you can hide and observe your surroundings. The combat is described as frantic, with a tense dodging system. Screenburn, the Glasgow-based studio making this, poured real Scottish locations into the art design, and the atmosphere in the trailer is suffocating. It got showed at the State of Play in February, and the community reaction was immediate. This looks like the most Silent Hill game in years. Coming out on PS5 and PC confirmed. No exact date yet, but it's coming, and it might be the best psychological horror game of the generation. The scariest game I have ever played is getting a full remake, and I'm actually scared. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly is, and I will argue this with anyone, the greatest Japanese horror game ever made. Twin sisters wander into an abandoned village infested with ghosts, and your only weapon is the camera obscura, a camera that damages spirits when you photograph them. The closer the ghost is when you take the shot, the more damage you deal. So the game is literally training you to let the terrifying thing get as close as possible before you defend yourself. It's genius. It's evil. It's been rebuilt from the ground up with modern visuals, updated controls and quality of life improvements while keeping the original's atmosphere intact. It's coming March the 12th on PS5, Xbox, Switch 2 and PC. If you've never played Fatal Frame, this is the one. If you have played Fatal Frame, you already know why it's number 2. Number 1 hasn't shown gameplay, hasn't confirmed a release date, hasn't even revealed a trailer beyond the logo and the music sting. And it's still number 1 because it's Silent Hill 1 Remake by Bloober Team, the studio that made the Silent Hill 2 remake, which was one of the best horror games of the decade. Here's what we know. Bloober Team announced the Silent Hill 1 remake at Konami's Press Start Showcase in June 2025. It entered full production by September 2025. The studio has doubled the size since Silent Hill 2 Remake shipped, and Konami separately confirmed that an additional new Silent Hill game is also in development beyond this remake, so Konami is going all in. The original Silent Hill from 1999 is where everything started. The fog, the sirens, Harry Mason searching for his daughter in a town that wants to consume him. If Bloober implies the same level of care they brought to Silent Hill 2 Remake, this could be the definitive survival horror remake. We might not see it until late 2026 or even 2027, but the fact that this exists is enough to put it at number 1. The king is coming home, and I am not ready.